Like, if you watch Blaire White, definitely that's your homework assignment, Russ. Watch Blaire White. One, like, she's a bad bitch. Like, she's a bad bitch. Danny was really thinking I'm gay for a while. Or were you joking?
I wasn't thinking he was gay. I was just wondering. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's when you got, like, you wore my underwear for a little bit after that.
No, don't
right
fucking lie.
I left a pair of my underwear, and, like, Steven sent me a picture of him in it, and then... And I'm a little paranoid, so I was going through search history, and it was a lot of transgender porn and stuff.
What?
And
no, stop.
I wasn't nervous he was gay, but I was just wondering if there was something he needed to tell me, which we're very open, so I was like, why wouldn't you just tell me? Why are you lying on my name? You didn't get the green underwear picture when he was wearing the thong.
Oh, no, okay.
And that was right after that.
Okay, slow down. I put on her underwear as a joke with my balls hanging out just to be stupid. Like, it had nothing to do... nothing to do with any of that.
And then I'm really going to expose him, but he also...
alright, not really.
What's wrong with you?
So many things.
No, I'm just saying I'll do it.
Why did you ever think that was a
He just exposed...
I'm saying I don't want to suck a dick, but I'm saying I'll do it if that proves I'm an ally.
Okay, so if you want to hear more about
this is going worse. I tried to fix it. Alright, guys. Alright, look, we're not going to continue. We're done now. Yeah, this was a really good episode, right? I think, right, boys?
Yeah, we definitely got off topic. But I think the point is what we want from this is, obviously we started with being open and basically debunking the label of polyamory, and we kind of jumped into how other people view other labels with the LGBTQ community as well as that. And we want to debunk that, and we know we don't have the education into this, and we want to look into it. We maybe even want to reach out to someone to get them on the show to know more about it, but we really want to take a look at these labels and why they're blemished.
Oh my God, could we get Blaire White? I don't think so. We're not big enough.
Know.
One day, I'm putting it in this video right now. Mark my words. Blaire White, one day, we're going on your show. You're coming on ours. I'm going to meet you.
As you know, I have homework to do. I'm Blaire White, but yeah, we want to open up this conversation about being open and accepting people for who they are. So come check us out. Maybe next week or the week after, and we'll have a more educated perspective on these topics here.
Let's get right in here.
All right, we're back again. I think today we just want to say thank you for all the people who left comments, and most importantly, we're going to be addressing some of your questions, comments, concerns, or topics you wanted to cover. And I think we're going to lead with a comment that was based on jealousy. And I believe in the comment you had mentioned that it was a selfish, it didn't come from selfishness, right? Selfishness. So I guess my question to you guys is, do you feel the same way as the person who left this comment? Do you feel that jealousy comes from selfishness? Or what do you think?
I don't think it's selfish. I think it stems from an insecurity. I think it's a feeling. I think it's a common feeling everyone gets. But it is something like when you're not... Like if we compare it has nothing to do with emotions, right? Let's compare it to something materialistic. If you have a really nice car, and if I have a really nice car, then there's nothing for me to be jealous for because we both have, a nice thing.
Yeah.
Or like a nice house or something like that. When it comes to emotions, I think when there's a questionable feeling or when you're feeling insecure about something, that's where the jealousy stems from.
Yeah.
Well, so that's a good point right there. So that's distinguishing jealousy from envy. If somebody's envious, like usually when we're speaking about jealousy, we're speaking in reference to a relationship, most likely, or your partner. Right. And it's more so the feeling of having a fear, insecurity in regards to losing something that you feel is yours, usually with a person or relationship.
But it's something you can't have.
Yeah, if we're speaking of a materialistic thing, that's more so envy, and that's obviously, we could just cut that right there. That's obviously a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. That's just definitely weakness on the person's part. But when it comes to jealousy, I was reading that comment that person said, and I didn't agree, but I feel like I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I presume she's trying to say, if this is what she's trying to say, then I get it a little bit, because I feel like she's trying to say, like, more not even that jealousy is valid, but more so that, like, the person's valid. So if that emotion is invoked in somebody, they are not wrong. Like, they shouldn't feel bad about that. which is true. I don't remember if we talked about it in the podcast or it was a previous conversation leading up to the podcast, but we were basically saying how any emotion that you feel is real, it's valid, it's coming from a place in you that you don't control. You don't control what emotions rise out of you, but you're absolutely responsible for how you deal with it. And just because you're feeling it doesn't mean you need to act on it or that it's an indicator of anything positive.
Right. I agree.
Or that you're right to feel that way, but you're not right. You're not right. Like sometimes when we went on our first trip, I think that's like the first time I felt jealous that I could remember even now. And it was like I was jealous of one thing. I was jealous of the way you two had this like bond, and it was the first time I noticed that maybe I didn't fit in. I didn't have like this thing, because when you guys go on a trip together, we were in Philly, like Pri already knows what to pack and Steven already knows this, and they have this dynamic together. So I was kind of like, oh shoot, I was feeling jealous and insecure in myself, like where do I fit into this role in their lives? And so it wasn't wrong that I was feeling this way, but that it would be wrong of me to take it out on you two because you didn't do anything wrong, you know? So it wasn't like I would be right to lash out because, you know, it's like, okay, I could be upset, but then I also have to realize, like, where it's coming from, and that's not anyone's fault, you know? It's not like you guys did something wrong or that jealousy is right.
Yeah.
That's what I think is a perfect example of what that person was trying to say. It's like she's not a bad person for feeling jealousy there,
right?
But it doesn't mean that anybody else did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that anything should change. Like, it just means you feel that. Like, if anything, it's an indicator of, like, it's just like a physical pain in your body. It's like, it's just directing your mind to pay attention to something to fix an underlying problem. So there, it was just for her to probably, I mean, how did you get over that? You just thought about it a little more?
I was realizing that like, jealousy is mostly an insecurity. So I think as long as you realize, like, even though, you know, you could be secure in yourself, even the most confident person, you're going to have those moments. It's like, for me, I had that moment, even though I know I fit in your guys' relationship, for that 1 second, I was like, oh shoot, where do I fit in this part of your lives? And I just started to feel a little bit of insecurity, which then made me jealous. But then as soon as I was like, what's wrong with me? Of course I'm going to fit in. Like, it's my first time traveling with them. Of course I don't know where my flow is in the vlog. Then it was just like, I think we talked about it. Like, at dinner that night, you guys both realized I was upset. And I was like, yeah, like, I'm just kind of feeling like I don't know where I belong in your vlogs and stuff, since I don't want to be in them. And we talked about it, and you instantly were like, yeah, but you can do this. And you made me a part of it in other ways.
And that's actually, I mean, she just probably gave the key, one of the keys on how to solve the jealousy right there. It's, you just need to talk about it. Like, and it's the way you talk about it too. I mean, we could all, you know, share something where we were jealous, how we handled it, and why we have a perspective on jealousy. But if you feel jealous about something, the person feeling it automatically needs to take a step back and understand that the other person didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Doesn't matter how mad you are, how bad you're hurt, it doesn't mean anything. It's a perfect example of why jealousy is not a positive thing and why nothing is owed to you. It's like, any bad emotion is not owed to you. If I did something that hurt you, I mean, it's like, if I intentionally hurt you, that's one thing. If I did something that did hurt you and it wasn't intentional, it's still another thing. But if you're hurt by something I said and you shouldn't have been, that's on you. It's like, if you're offended, you know, fuck you, I hope you're offended twice. It's like, that's not my responsibility. So with jealousy, it's like, if all you have to do is talk about it and then we literally figured out. But if she would have approached me with, like,
a negative attitude or wrong,
yeah,
then you would have been like, that's not my problem. Me and Pri, are going to have a bad dynamic now because you feel insecure?
But I think she literally brought it up as, like, a question, you know, like, hey, you know, this is how I was feeling, and, you know, what do you think about it? And we just talked about it.
I didn't even have to bring it up because I was kind of down about it, and I think Pri and Steven both noticed it, because, like, when I'm upset, it's just instant. And then I kind of was just like, yeah, like, I just feel out of place. Like, I don't really know what to do in this dynamic. And then, yeah, we just talked about it, and we kind of were like, well, it's your first vlog, like, maybe you could hold the camera, maybe you could do this, you know?
Yeah.
The problem where that could happen, though, like, so that was a lower stakes kind of thing where it was, like, easily resolved. But if your I mean, you have a good story for this. Like, if you're experiencing jealousy of your partner, it's more on the person experiencing that jealousy for how this is going to go. Absolutely. Because if you come out like, oh, you did this, why would you do that to me, like, victimizing, then the other person is automatically going to naturally go into defense mode, like, I didn't do anything to you. And then it's more like they don't even care to mediate. Obviously, you know, you could be above that, but, like, that's going to be your automatic response. You should, if you're experiencing jealousy and you want it to be resolved and not just fight about it, the way you should probably approach it is just, hey, I felt, this is what I saw. You know, would you agree that this is what happened? This is how it made me feel when I saw you talking to this person this way. Mm-hmm. You know, it made me think X, Y, and Z. You know, did you see it the same way? Do you see where I'm coming from? and move from there. But you had a good story. What was that about?
Yeah. So one, I just want to say, I think what the commenter was saying, she didn't want to villainize jealousy, and I don't think we have to. It doesn't have to be this evil thing. And because one, it is a valid emotion that a lot of people go through in relationships, all types, right?
Yeah.
Poly, monogamous, whatever else there is, right? But that's my concept now, is I don't want to take this thing that is supposedly so bad, like almost like relationship ending, whether it's friends or in a significant other. I don't want to have that perspective on it. But yeah, so for me, jealousy, at least, you know, growing up in high school and even some of my college years, I felt this loss of myself, the loss of logic when I was feeling these jealous emotions, that I couldn't think clearly. I couldn't think with reality. And I wanted to essentially insert myself into my significant other's life in places that I didn't need to be, right? Because I was feeling invalidated or feeling like the victim of being taken advantage of, or even just being ignored in that sense. And I wanted this not to happen. I was scared of this person leaving me, or scared of this person just developing new relationships that were better than mine. And it really attacked my sense of self and made me go down these rabbit holes. And I don't know if you guys have ever felt jealous before, but your mind kind of creates these narratives that are not true. And your mind goes with this thought and it pairs up with that emotion and it just goes south. Literally, I've had messes to clean up in the morning that I do not know how I even got there. Because then, like, when you wake up and you remove that emotion and you're just out of it, you're like, holy shit, look at this.
I think that's where the jealousy, you have to be very cautious with. You have to be able to separate it, right? Because something like that can happen where it's like, I could be upset with even if it's not jealousy, like if it's something, I don't know, you didn't take out the garbage, as an example. And it's something so silly, and the jealousy could stem for something so small and something that you just misunderstood even, right? And then I'm giving him an attitude, and then it's like I'm carrying that on, I'm carrying that feeling for a long time, and then you're bringing that negative energy into your relationship, and it's just going to cause a snowball effect to something else. I think you also have to be careful with the jealousy of, like, you don't own somebody. Right? And so there's that fine line of, like, it's like the person still has to live their life. I think a healthy relationship, like, Steven has guys time. I have my girlfriend that I hang out. Danny has her girl. You know, we all have our separate kind of, like, worlds that, you know, they tend to, like, mix in, you know, at some point. But it's just like, jealousy could even affect your friendships.
Yeah,
you know?
1000%.
And then it's like that's not okay. That thing that, like, the jealousy kind of, like, turning into that thing, like, you feel like you own that person.
So
you know?
That makes me think of two things. So one, we already threw a group of friends under the bus last time, so, you know, time to switch it up and throw another group. But before we bring that up, don't lose that train of thought. You're saying how it affects our friendships, and I think we already know some people we're referring to. But that's a really good point of, like, feeling like I think that's why poly is kind of the opposite. Like, people that don't understand poly or assume and are so critical of it, it's because they're projecting their own insecurities onto it. They're thinking like, oh, I could never do that. I would be so jealous. You know, even, you know, some guys, it's less common, but there's some guys, like, you think it's every guy's dream to have a threesome. But some guys are even, like, so possessive, or
that's
whatever
the
the reason is. I mean, possessive. I mean, whatever their reasoning is, they won't even want to see their girl with another girl. To me, I mean, that's not cheating to me. And then, well, you know why it's not cheating? I'm not gonna go off too far on a tangent, but you know why it's not cheating? Because think about it. If you're a virgin and you go eat a girl's pussy, are you still a virgin?
Oh, God.
Yeah. If you're a virgin and the girl sucks your dick, are you still a virgin?
No, I don't think.
Wait. I want to hear Russ's answer.
So
Okay, exactly. So therefore, if the math makes sense this way, all lesbians are virgins. So if it doesn't matter how many girls Priya has sex with, Okay, all right. So anyway,
I also don't think you agree with that, because if I was having relations with a girl and I didn't tell you, that's cheating.
oh no, yeah, but that's
So,
that's emotionally cheating. You're still untouched in my eyes, but it's cheating. So, anyways, I'm sorry, lesbians. We're part of the LGBT community. It's not anything offensive. That's just it's my logic. You debate me, but okay. So when people project their insecurities onto poly, it's like they're projecting their own. It's like they think that we're limited by their shortcomings, that they are insecure or they can't. We experience jealousy the same way, and it's not like we're so great that we transcended it, but you can't limit. I feel like poly is the most pure expression of love. Not that it's better than monogamy, do whatever works for you, but I feel like it's pure in the sense where you're more so, because there's sacrifices in a relationship. There is a confinement. That's the point of settling down. There is boundaries now that you move within. That's any relationship dynamic. But poly, I feel like, gives you a little bit more ground for you to stand on and express your individuality. Do you guys feel like that, or?
I feel like you have more ground, I guess, but I feel like what people project onto us is like the disrespect, like the jealousy that they stem from. It's like, oh my God, I could never see you with another man or another woman. Oh my God, that's cheating. Like, how do you not value yourself? Like, you're this amazing person. You can have any man in the world. Yeah, I can have any man I want if I wanted to, I can get your man too if I wanted to, but it's just so, there is no, I think there's so much more respect because you have to connect in so many different levels, you have to be confident, you're confident in yourself, you're confident in your relationship, it just, I can't.
You're explaining it better than I did. It's not just the ground that you stand on, and what I was saying was mostly targeted for you because people, especially when we first came out as poly or whatever, they were looking at you like, oh, why are you letting him do that to you, He's manipulating you. Why don't you find a man who respects you and trusts you? Clearly you're not enough for him. It's not about being enough for me.
Yeah.
Like,
it was never like, they always make the guy look like, oh my God, this guy is like, he thinks he's the shit. He has 2 girlfriends. That's what he sees. And it's not only that. You have to get yourself out of that mindset, It's like, yeah, I am the shit. And then you switch the script, It's like, yeah, I can have a man and a girl,
That's the level of projecting their insecurities and how they can see someone with someone else that's not them and how they would feel. Very directly to you, but I feel like a lot of the times people aren't addressing that, and I do want to go back to how we communicate what we feel when we're feeling these jealous things, because I think there is a healthy way to approach it, and I think it's understanding where jealousy comes from, right? And this is where I do believe I disagree with the commenter. I do believe jealousy is a selfish feeling in its own sense, but where do you feel jealousy comes from? Like, how does it come about?
I think there could be, like, an example is like if you come from a broken family and you've seen like what disloyalty can do, and you live in a sense of fear.
You're just hypersensitive to going down the same road.
Yeah. So it's like, let's say your parents divorced because, I don't know, the dad cheated, or the mom cheated. So that broke the family, that ruined, your childhood in some type of way, and you're so sensitive to that you would never want that to happen to you.
Yeah.
So then it's always in the back of your mind. So that's kind of like a trauma that you have to accept so that you're not bringing that baggage into your relationships. Not only love relationships, but friendships and family and all of that as well.
Yeah, that takes a lot of self-realization. A lot of looking back at, why am I feeling this way? Where does it come from?
Where is it coming from? Like
forward.
Traumas that you experience sometime when you're young, and you have to figure out how to, deal with that trauma because you can affect so many other parts of your life.
Facts.
I think it comes from, so like the comparison I was just making before about poly and why people project that. It's like, so let's say if it's a linear thing, there's like no jealousy on this end and super jealous on this end. It's like most people, like obviously, not that there's a sensible level of jealousy, but there's something, it's not like if you're in a relationship, poly or otherwise, you're most likely not fine with your girl or partner going, having sex with other people or whatever the case is. So with the friendship thing, it's like people can be so super jealous that it's like, you can't even have friends. I don't want you talking to this person. But it all stems from insecurity. So if you're super sensitive, you're hypersensitive to those things, you have more insecurity, you're going to limit not just male partners, for your girlfriend, you're going to limit all partners, or no, you can't even talk to people. And then I feel like we're just further past that balance, and then we're to the point where it's like, we're so trusting and open that it's like, Pre's not in a fear of loss of, oh yeah, Danny's going to steal him away or something. It's just even more secure. So where does it come from? I think it's insecurity, and you can kind of see that if you look at it on a sliding scale like that.
I don't think it's also like, I think when people think of insecurity, they think of like personal insecurity, like, oh, it's because Pre's confident in herself or because I'm confident in myself. But I think it's about trust in the relationship security, because it's like, you're not jealous if you know your partner is always going to respect you. So if you feel confident with your partner, not even just yourself, but just that they love you, that they make you feel secure in this relationship, and that they're not going to lie to you, that they're always going to tell you the truth, I think jealousy is automatically removed, because you know that your partner is always going to be honest with you and always respect your relationship. So I think jealousy could also just come from knowing that your relationship, maybe not is as honest as you want it to be or as secure. So I think it's not just like, oh, be confident in yourself. They know you're sexy. Know you can get any man. It's like, no, your relationship is solid,
Yeah, that was a good clarification. I don't think either of us intended to make it seem like it's a personal insecurity. And then maybe even hearing that, it's great that you clarified that, because even hearing that, people could take that as a personal attack against, like, oh, I'm jealous because I'm insecure. It's like just, adding insult to injury now.
Your relationship could also
it's not personal insecurity, like, oh, I don't want her talking to this guy because I have a little dick. It's like, no, it's security in your relationship. It's security and that could be solved with trust and transparency, period.
If you feel like you wouldn't want to be with someone that's going to disrespect you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the fear of like the cheating and because it's like, that's going to taint your image in a way, and no one wants that. It's like even in the beginning, Steven is like, I don't want to look stupid, and we would talk about it, and it's like, well, I don't want to look stupid. So it's like those emotions are tied to, I think, the cheating and the disrespect or something, because you can even make someone look dumb by like how you refer to them or a comment you make, and it ties into jealousy because it is how you're going to project your emotions towards that person. And
I don't remember if we left it in the end of the first podcast. I think it might have got cut, but it's kind of like how it's just because. It's just like, oh, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean, you're not right. Like, you could be paranoid and what you're scared about could be exactly real. Or like in that movie with Will Smith, when he says to his son, he's like, danger is very real, but fear is an illusion. It's like, no, like jealousy could make sense to an extent, because when we were saying in the last podcast, in the end, it was like, is ignorance bliss? It's like, people could have that jealousy not because it's like, I trust you, I just don't trust dudes. Or it's like, you've been around the block and it's like, you've seen what the dozens of married women have done. It's like, it could stem from something, not just insecurity. It could stem from logic, but it's still not.
And you see it. It's like you see people that have been married for 20 plus years, and then that jealous or that cheating or whatever happens, and it's gone. And it's like, I think that also is like, we have an idea of what we want our lives to be, and something as simple as jealousy can like. It changes, you change what you're thinking, or you change what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think whatever you're going through that's bringing up this jealous feeling, you have to, I think, and it's hard for sometimes for people to take a step back and like analyze themselves. It's so easy for you to just attack the person that is bringing that emotion to you. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard for people to, okay, what's going on here? Yeah. Is there something I could change? Like, how do I bring this up in like a non-confrontational manner? Yeah.
But that's especially why it is tricky, because it's like, oh, is there something I could change? Like, yes, there is something I could change. I can solve this jealousy and this uncomfortable feeling that you're feeling right now. It's a very real feeling for you, but I could solve it by changing something. But that doesn't mean I should. It doesn't mean it's right. maybe you just are looking at it in a wrong way.
Right.
So that's why
you have to have open mind, like this, and the conversation, and you have to have good communication, because maybe you're jealous about something. Like Danny felt jealous about the first trip we've been on, right? And it's like, and she was able to speak to us, and we were like, hey, we get it, but think about this. Like, me and Steven we are together for 4 years and stuff. There's things that, like, it just clicks after a while. Like, it just, when we pack and stuff, it's like, it's packed. There's nothing to worry about, you know? So, of course, maybe that's something, like, coming into a relationship, it's like, okay, like, what do I do? But she was able to be like, because she could have easily been like, oh, fuck this, I'm leaving, like, I feel left out, like, you know, she could have taken it south really quick.
I mean, these are major keys even beyond jealousy, because this goes into, I think it's also something that got cut from the first episode, was it's like, oh no, this was like the beginning of the first episode. It's more like, you can't be in a relationship until you have a very high level of self-awareness. Like, you have to know yourself very well, and you have to know yourself to a level where you don't even know, like, therapists don't give you answers, they help you ask the right questions. You need to be able to ask yourself the right questions and catch yourself so somebody else doesn't have to catch you. Because if somebody's experiencing jealousy or having any problem, the person that you're dealing with, especially somebody younger, or, you know, maybe just somebody with less life experience, or just maybe they had a traumatic upbringing, or whatever the reason is that they're deficient in a certain area, they might have a valid problem, or it may not be valid. Either way, they may come off and attack, like they came out about it completely the wrong way. Now, that is on them that they came about it the wrong way. It would have been ideal if they can just solve it themselves, or at least, you know, bring it out in the right way. But now the ball's in your court. They hit you with that pass, and it's not a good thing. How are you going to handle it now? Are you going to not check yourself and respond back, or respond defensively, or can you recognize what's going on and then not let that ruin your day and try to work it out? And then even if you can recognize it and see and you know, the sub-communications and realize the real problem there, are you able to now communicate that to that person? And then that's where some relationships are just like wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. It's like, maybe you guys could have been a great match, but
after some development.
Yeah, because even if you recognize the problem clearly, and it's like, damn, I wish I could show you this because it's so obvious, but there's almost no way I could communicate this to you right now, because you don't have the reference points to really understand it, and I just don't have a way. No matter how I say it, you're going to think I'm either thinking I'm better than you, or posturing to you, or I'm making excuses. And then it's like that disconnect will always just be there. And if that's the case consistently, obviously it's like the relationship might just be a dub, you know?
Yeah.
But what do you think when that happens? Because you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
That's exactly how I took every time I went through a relationship that ended badly. Mostly it stemmed from a jealousy, or, you know, false accusations, or even true ones, but mostly cheating and jealousy, right? But I didn't just take it into my next relationship. I grew from it, and I was able to become more self-aware of why I was feeling these things. And I spent a lot of time being heartbroken and reflecting on myself and saying, okay, why was I feeling this way? Like, why do I get to this point? And, you know, thank God for your health and all the marketing that we did with that company, because it brought me to people that helped open up my mind. It wasn't just about the sales aspect of it, but it was about uncovering who you are and how you can reflect on yourself. And that's what I went through. Every time I went through some crazy stuff, obviously it hurts in the beginning, and that's when I think you do the most self-reflecting. And you take a look and you can say, oh, okay, so I see how I could, like, I feel like I even enabled her to do these things because I was just lashing out all the time. I didn't know how to approach it. I didn't know how to control it. And I guess one thing I want to ask is, do you think it's hard when you're feeling jealous to just talk to that person and say, hey, I'm feeling jealous. Let's talk about this.
I think it depends on who it is.
Yeah, for example, if she's upset about something, her natural reaction, obviously she's way better with it now, but her natural tendency is to bottle it up, and then eventually it builds and it explodes, and then I'm like, okay, fuck all this smoke, where did the fire start?
Yeah.
Danny on the
get like maybe a sentence, and you have to piece together what she's
and it's a
upset
much
about.
bigger mess to deal with. Danny on the other side, she immediately explodes
you'll
on the
know.
spot.
I can't
So
stop
it's like,
talking about it.
it's good because, okay, I see clearly we have a problem instead of hiding it and it festering. But it's like, now we're in the middle of a fire, so how, so neither way is great. I mean, which one is better? Like, you gotta find the happy medium.
My communication is way worse than Pree's because I do get very mad, but I think it's way less because, like, when Pri and Steven are mad, like she said, it's always about something so small, but then it builds and builds, and then it's like 2 weeks of them being mad because he didn't take out the garbage because she wouldn't just yell at him right there. Whereas me and Steven aren't arguing for as long because it'll be just immediate, like a half hour of very hot mad, but then it's like, okay, we're over it, we spoke about it. Where Pri will be upset for like 2 weeks and just ruin her 2 weeks.
I won't ruin an event because of an emotion.
Oh no, that's facts. I mean, that's already like a rule that we've never even really talked about it to you about that. I don't think. Well, like for a long time, we never would embarrass each other in public. I mean, there was one time. I'll say it if my friends are watching this. So there was one time we took a trip to Colorado. We got Eric a trip to Colorado for his birthday, and Pri did something. It was stupid, and I knew I didn't have a reason to be mad about it. But what she did that really pissed me off was she brushed my friend Johnny's hair, and I'm just thinking, like, she's just sitting there, like, just like a girl, like, combing his hair, and I'm just thinking, like, why would you do that? But she didn't hear about it until 3 days later, and we didn't fight about it either. But immediately when we're alone, I brought it up. I'm not going to blow it up on the spot. We don't ever cause a scene. That's just terrible etiquette for a relationship. You never.
Or you could just ruin, like, you're in, like, and that's something I think Danny has gotten better with.
I blow up.
She blows up,
And ruins the night.
and it's like, okay, great, like this.
No, to me though, in my defense, it's never been something that I wanted to do. So like when I blow up, it's scenarios like, okay, you guys know I'm coming here for you, and then you fucking did this thing that like just left me pissed. So now I'm stuck here.
Even Pennsylvania, like you could tell that she's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on a trip and something like that, and it's like we need to address this like ASAP.
Yeah, and Danny gets it now. She's obviously in better with it. And if anything, I'll deal with either situation because I know how to handle both situations. Thank you, your help. But it's like both do have their problems or whatnot. But it's like, especially in a poly relationship, I guess this is a dynamic that people don't have to deal with in monogamy at all. Is I understand, and we all obviously, especially because we're speaking about it now. I mean, this is probably so valuable to us just to understand how we really see these things. But in a normal relationship, you only have the one. Either the person's one way or the other, or ideally, you're both on the same page and you get it. But so me and Danny, when we were going through this and like kind of, not coaching her, but it's like there's things that you teach each other. And I think that was one thing I was able to teach her that will benefit her even in her future relationships. But it's like, so as we're going through this and
what I took from that is he just needs to behave himself and I won't blow up in public.
All right, all jokes aside, like while we're going through that, it's like, it seems like we're having consistent fights. It doesn't just seem that way. That's exactly what happened. But every time we fight, we're getting better about it, and on multiple levels. I mean, we're resolving the actual problem we're fighting about. We're learning better how to deal with the situation personally, and we're learning each other better by far, and how to diffuse each other. And every time we're like, baby, next time this happens, this is what I need you to do. And if you don't, I'm going to try my best to recognize that it's not personal, and then like we just set that game plan up. And now we never fight. And if we do, it's super quick and it's 10% as bad as before.
That's good. That's like ideal. Is obviously you want to grow within the relationship and learn. And
but my point was like Pri has to deal with that, and to her it looks like that. And then on the other side, it's like Danny looks at me and Pri like, and then seeing it slowly build and blow up, and then she's like, "What is going on?" It's like, I know, but she's not there. But that was my point of the different. We all have to see it in the poly, but
that's what I wanted to get through is like every relationship is going to be a different battle, a different way you have to approach these things. But you have to be mature enough to open that floor for them or you to talk about it, to want to get better, right? And so, for instance, my last relationship, which was short-lived, it was like maybe 6 months, but she was jealous or alone, like feeling lonely because I just wouldn't text her as much throughout the day. And she would go through these spirals and think that I'm with someone and that I don't like her or because I'm not texting her, she was like, she thought some crazy stuff. But the very first, it was like a month in, first time she wanted to argue with me. I didn't let her argue with me, right? I basically, we had a solid month of getting to know each other, having fun, you know, the honeymoon phase. But obviously I don't know if you guys know, but my texting is horrible. I would rather voice memo or talk to you on the phone. I hate texting. I think it's stupid. There's no emotion involved. And now there's like, if you're mad, you put a period at the end of things. Or like there's just certain text lingo that I'm just not okay with, right? But she wanted to argue with me, and I heard the tone over her, like over the phone. Like she obviously had something on her mind because it was all day at work, and then I went home. I was playing video games, and then I called her. And so you can hear it in her voice. It was like, "Hey,
we gotta
what's
talk."
up?" It was, but she didn't want to talk. She wanted to fight.
Yeah.
And so I just asked her. I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, she didn't want to open up, and I just told her. I said, "Look, I feel like you're going through something, and I want you to know that I'm not here to judge you. And if you're feeling something, I also want you to know that your feelings are valid." I said that to her. And I said, "Just talk to me, and maybe we can come to some type of like reconciliation on what's going on, but I want to know what's going on, because if I did something to make you feel this way, right now I don't know. So I want you to open up to me." I said, "Take your time, do what you got to do." And then
that set fire to her, didn't it?
No.
No, I would love that answer.
She cried. Right? So she started to talk, and she was getting emotional about what she was going through and what she was thinking. And I just let her just go out there and say what she needed to say. And I was like, wow, so this really just stemmed from me not texting you. So, you know what? I'll do my best to text you more. But I also want you to know that I'm not with someone else, or it's not that I don't like you. That's not why I'm not texting you. I'm really just bad at texting. Like I forget.
That is a hard thing to believe, but it's true.
It's very true, but all my friends know.
Oh,
like if
God.
I don't respond, they're just
I
like,
lost 2 bets because you don't answer the phone.
Yes, the reason I said that I was thinking this was going to be the horror story when she was enraged by that, and Danny said, "No, I love that answer. Yes, that is the perfect answer." But I'm sure you probably also met those people where you give them that answer, and that's kind of like the example I was saying. It's like, oh, I see the problem, I'm dealing with it the right way, here's the life raft. But there's people that don't want to be saved. And when you give them that, it's like they're expecting to fight with you. And when they're trying and you don't fight back, it's like they blow up. Because they can't get the reaction they want. They do not want help. There's people that are drowning, and they don't want you to save them. They want you to feel bad that they're drowning and get into that drama with them. And have you met those people?
I have been in a relationship with those people. But yes, and if that's the case, like there's that knowing that this probably isn't going to work, right?
Yeah.
Because I can't sit here and try and give you all this room, and you're not going to work with me.
I think that's where you become your own toxic.
If you meet those kind of people, like, so, and now we're going to have to segue into our friend group, because now we're double dipping on the controlling thing and then the way that they see it, the people getting controlled see it. So, the point is, if you ever meet those kind of people, don't ignore that. That's a massive red flag. And it's like, on the one point, it's like strike one. Okay, I threw you the life raft. You drowned anyway. You got your second life. You can only do that so many times, and then you got to get out of there, because not only will you're not capable of saving this person. And because I've been in those situations where it's like, dude, I swear I have everything to save you. But if you don't want to take my hand, I can't. Yeah. And then that person's like, no, it's a trick. No, and then they gaslight you, and then they drown anyway, and then they make it seem like you drowned them. And then not only that, after they drown, they're making you look like the bad guy. It's the word. Run from those people. Run for the hills. But all right, let's transition into our friends now with this thing, because it's always easier from an outside perspective. Sometimes when you're in the mix, you don't realize that's going on. And especially if the person's a good gaslighter, you might think, oh, wait, I thought I was giving the right answer. Am I not now? Yeah. Wait, am I actually the problem? But that's the worst part when you get in those situations, because those people get you second-guessing yourself. They're good at what they do. But the thing is, I don't think there's always malintent. A lot of times, I don't think they realize it, because nobody wants to drown, but they're that, I don't want to say damaged, but that's probably the right word. Like, there's there's some trauma. There's people always have a history
I would
of trauma.
just say ignorant to the situation, especially if we're talking about friends and bringing third parties or extra parties into it. There's just a level of ignorance brought to the situation at hand that the things that they can say can be damaging. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's a missing link somewhere there where that connection is not possible to be made. So then it falls on the other. But that's a hard situation for somebody with genuine intent, because it's like, okay, I get I can't save you, but I can't watch you die. So what do you do? Like, it's the hardest. I guess the answer is fucking look away. I'm not going to watch you die, but I can't save you.
So there's a lot that goes along with this. Like, I have a friend who constantly puts herself in the water with no life raft and cement tied to their feet. And I try my best to give the best advice that I possibly can, right? But here's what I've surrendered, and here's what makes this scenario easier for me, is I surrendered control over the situation, right? Because if you think about it, there's you and there's what you have in reach of you, which is what you have control of, right? You have everything inside and like everything that's in reach. And then everything outside of that is not in your control. Like literally everything in the world, you have no control over. And if you look at it like that, you can come to some level of ease within these relationships that you're trying to help people and they're drowning. But understanding that that's their choice. And you did your part, right? You're trying to throw them that life raft, but they're still going to make their own decisions. And even though it could be someone you care about and it hurts you, you know you did what you had to do.
I also want to add the expectation part of it. Like, from all the topics we've been talking about, mostly jealousy and these emotions, right, and how to deal with it. There's this like movie like Prince Charming scenario that I think women gravitate towards, because that's what they grew up seeing in Disney and all these, romantic movies and stuff, or what you hear growing up. Like, you have to find this guy and you have to find a wife that's going to take care of you and you have to do this. So it's like you have this like notion of what things are supposed to be. So you expect things to be this way, right? Yeah. So I expect you to do this automatically. And one thing that you said, and I think it's important to touch base on, is you don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. You know, and I could have caused something and it made you feel some type of way, and I have no idea, So then I expect you to say, if I'm grumpy, that you're automatically going to be like, oh, what happened? Like, I'll expect Steven to be like, oh, what's going on? Like, but you have to also, it goes back to that communication thing,
That's when the things start going in circles, because it's like, it could be, you're thinking I'm going to respond a certain way because that's what you're used to, or that's what normally works for you. But it's like, you're grumpy. You think I'm going to ask you, but my attitude, and there's no bad intent here. It might just be like, oh, she's having a bad day. I'm not ruining my day, and go about your way.
And that's something like that. Like, it's like it's like, so let's say something silly. It's like, oh, it's your birthday. You expect the person to get you a gift. And then you're upset because they didn't get you a gift, but it's like, it's just like that expectation. And then that's something that I think ruins friendships and relationships and stuff like that, because you could be jealous or you feel some type of way because you didn't get invited to something. And then it's like, wait, why didn't I get invited? What did I do? Like, you start creating these scenarios. It's like, oh, they're fake. They're fake. Why did they do this? This person's fake. They just spoke to me the other day. Blah blah blah.
That's the kind of thing, like you were saying. You said something last week. I think it was off the record, but you said something like how next relationship you get into, and there was these certain standards. It's like exactly what Pree's saying, and kind of all of what we just went over doesn't exist if you have complete transparency. And it's like, people always ask, is there a rule in our relationship? It's not our rule, but obviously there's no lies, but that shouldn't be some holy grail standard you're aiming for. That should be the bare necessities. If you can't have 100% transparency, and I'm not saying like okay, I'm not going to read your diary, like stuff like that, But if you can't have 100% transparency, you should not be in a relationship. That shouldn't be some goal or ideal to strive for.
Yeah.
But the thing is with that, it's like people don't realize that. People get in relationships to pass the time. People get into relationships because this is the hottest person I can land right now.
It's summertime.
Or I'm stupid reasons.
Or
I don't
the
know why
whole family thing. It's like, oh, you have to find a guy. You know, like
Pressure
I'm getting
from
pressure.
family, yeah.
Like I think it happens a lot with the Latino, like Hispanic community for women. You know, you have to find a guy who is gonna take care of you, who's who's gonna, this and that. He has to, 800 credit score, this and that. He's gonna take care of you. So it's like,
good luck finding that in the Latino community.
that doesn't mean they're looking for a Latino, you asshole. It's like even some Latino, you need to find an American, it's whatever the hell it is,
Yeah.
You have this thing, and it's like what ends up being your intention in the relationship,
But the thing with that is, like, if whatever their goal is, like, at least have a goddamn goal, because people are just like, oh, this guy likes me, okay, I'm fucking him now, he's my boyfriend now. It's like, you definitely need a standard. It's whatever your standard is, it's whatever you want it to be. But the thing is, people don't write down their goals in life. Same way they don't write down their goals in life or have a vision for their future. They don't have a parameter for their partner. Like, for me, the reason I wasn't in a relationship before wasn't just because I wasn't ready. I mean, one, I didn't want to, but also it's like I don't take relationships lightly. Like, I don't believe in marriage per se. Like, we'll do the whole wedding and blah blah. And actually, that was a question somebody asked. But I treat a relationship like marriage. If I claim you as my girlfriend, like find girls I claimed as my girlfriend. There's not many. If I claim you as my girlfriend, I'm claiming you as my life partner. Like, we're already married, essentially. Like, there's almost nothing that we can go through. So that's how I approach a relationship, and that's why when I get in a relationship, it's usually successful. People just get into them with no standard whatsoever.
Yeah, I think, especially when you're younger, I think people are just kind of going into relationships because it's, like, the cool thing to do. And also, they don't really think about it. They just kind of, it just falls into their lap.
They validate themselves by having a relationship.
Right, exactly. And through
like,
outside sources.
It's like, when you're young, it's like, are you still a virgin kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're a guy, you can't graduate high school a virgin or something, it's that thing. And then after, it's like, damn, everyone's going to a relationship. And then you see your friends, like, they start, everyone's dating, everyone's getting married, and then it's like you're following that, like, oh my god, I'm still not there, I'm still not there. So I think you also are under this pressure, until you have that self-actualization that it's like, I don't have to follow a timeline, So then that pressure of, like, accepting anyone, and that's where people get into bad relationships too.
There has to be a point, hopefully, because you can't just go until the wheels fall off, and that's bad for everybody. Everybody's time gets wasted, emotions, you get scars that maybe never heal. When do you decide to cut that person off, and when do you have to cut off those friendships? Because, like, we have friends that are stuck in these cycles, and it's like everybody sees it, you see it, because the brief moments that you come out of it, you're looking at the shit show that is your life and your relationship, and you're watching it, you're vocalizing the problem, but it's more like you're just a parrot, like you're saying it because clearly you don't understand it. Like they say, if a person knows the answer to the problem, why do they keep making the same mistake? Is it because they don't really believe in the answer? Do they want to make the wrong choice? But the answer is supposedly that they don't actually know the answer, or more so, they don't understand it. They know it, but it's gibberish to them. So when these people come out of this cycle and you're watching it happen, how much time do you waste with that friend? It's like, if they do this in a relationship, can they be an effective friend? Can they be great in other portions of their life, but they're a train wreck in this one area? Or is that usually a telltale sign of a damaged person?
So, if you're aware of what they're going through and you're reaching out trying to help them, and they're not taking your advice, or working themselves to be better, and continuing to go down this war path of destruction that they're creating in their life, I think it really comes down to the friendship you have. Like, if that war path is separate from your friendship and you guys have something, then that can still be. And you could give advice and reach out and try to help as much as you can, but you can't frontline that war path. You can't be the first responder on site saying, okay, I'm here to help, let's put out this fire. You can do that to some extent, but you can't devalue what's going on in your life and what you want, where you got to protect your dreams and your goals and your standards by getting involved in their stuff.
Yeah.
And that needs to be communicated clearly. It's like, look, I want to help. Like, I do love you. I do care for you. Like, and I value what we have. But you are in this, and you need to get yourself out.
A key of what you're saying is, you're saying, you can't lead that fight for them. It's not even like you can't, like, I don't want to do it for you. It's like I literally can't. It's like it's not my battle to fight. It's like leading a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's like, I really want you to drink, but if I try to make you drink, you're going to drown. So, but to paint the picture better for people, it's like, because we don't want people to get
Oh, wait, I actually liked what Russ said. Like, it depends what kind of friendship you have and if that friendship is affecting you. Because, like, one of my friends, I think she has a terrible relationship, maybe she'll say the same about me. But when she calls me, she's not calling me freaking out, like, I need to be there right now, you need to come help me, I need to stay at your place. She's not interrupting my life cycle. She's having this bad relationship, but then she's a constant in my, like, she's not leaving and coming from my life. She's always constantly my good friend. She knows she has a bad relationship, so sometimes she'll call us for advice, but she's not like, come pick me up. She's not inconveniencing my life.
Right.
I think if you guys are talking about your personal friend, it's like you need to cut it off when they're taking you out of your life, not considering you. They're like, oh, well, if I'm back with this person, fuck you, like ruining your life. And they're like, oh, but I'll also just come in your life whenever, and I expect you to be there for me right away and hang out with me now because I'm not with this person. It's like, so you flip-flop on when you want to be my friend, then you take my time. And even like people that don't like our relationship, some of my friends don't. Whether they think it's bad or not, my relationship with them stays the same, and that will always come first, So it's not like, oh, because I'm with Steven today, like, I'm not going to talk to you, So it's definitely, like you said, like, when is it inconveniencing your life as well? Because you could have a bad relationship, maybe know it's bad, but still be a great friend. It's when you're starting to be
that
toxic
kind
for
of
your friends
explains
as well.
more what I was asking you, was like, when do you cut that person off as your friend? Because, like, if that person, clearly they don't respect you, they're not valuing you. It's the same way people date to pass the time. It's like, you're my interim friend or whatever until I can go back to where I really want to be. And the worst part is they feel like they're settling for you. It's like, you fool. But then also, if somebody's in that situation, it's like, for example, to take it out of the relationship thing to make it more like relatable. It's like if you have a friend that great person to you, you could trust them 100%. But then you see another friend comes and you see him lie to this person all the time. Maybe he's just lying to that person. But then you see that he's always a liar to everybody else. He's a piece of shit to everybody else. Do you stay with him because he's a great friend to you? Doesn't that, at the very least, worry you? Like, do you cut that person off? Do you think that your whole relationship is fake? When do you dead that?
Well, I think you know the answer to that, at least for me. I value the relationships I have with people. And I also do my best not to judge people, because it's not for me to judge the situations that they're in that are outside of my control. I can't do it. I can give objective advice on it, but for me, if someone can have a healthy relationship with me, then I'm okay with that. There's certain boundaries that you can and can't cross. Like if we have similar friends where I'm friends with someone and you're not, like I don't want you to bash them in front of me. Yeah. Because I appreciate that person, I love that person, and I don't want to hear bad talk about them. But if you're going through your own thing, we could talk about it objectively and in a healthy manner, and that's how I would shut it down, because I appreciate those things, right? So for me, if someone is doing something like that, like but I still value the time when she comes back in, because we can not talk about that. We just have like this relationship that is right where we just last picked up off, and that's important to me. That's what I value, and that goes the same for all the people in my life. But friends are interesting. Like if you think about it, how many friends have you had growing up in middle school that were your best friends, in high school that were your best friends? But there's things that happen in your life, these stages that you go through, that naturally tear you apart.
I think you grow differently sometimes, or it's just like
you grow apart.
You grow apart. Like even some of my friends, I love them, But in my own discovery of who I truly was, you know, it's like we faded apart. You know, it's like we didn't see things eye to eye, or they didn't agree with my lifestyle, and they're still there. I can contact them, and they're there, but it doesn't even feel right anymore, you know, because I grew so much. I feel like, not that I'm better than them, absolutely not, but it's just like my mind is way more open now, you know? So it's like I can't stay in that same position. I can't go to that same bar every weekend. I can't, you know, do those same things. So it's like we end up, you know, just in different levels now.
We go apart, but I feel with what I said, I'm open to, you know, a rekindling, and obviously it doesn't work, but there are certain friendships.
Sorry.
You're fine. There's certain relationships that I just know the value that they can bring to me, and I want to keep those. And, or if I know I can add value to someone that I have a close relationship
I want it, like a lot of what you're saying, I definitely understand it, and I want to agree with it, and I've saw it that way in certain situations, and it's like, you know, you could look at it at like, okay, this person, it's more like don't judge a book by its cover. I don't care what everybody said about this person. That was not my experience of them.
Right.
I think it's different when you're seeing them and it's like, oh, this is true. It's just not true in our relationship for some reason. So they're setting themselves up for failure, because if they do make that mistake, it's like, wow, like now you're showing your true colors and this was always going to happen, and shame on me for seeing it and not doing it. And then I do agree where it's like, I don't care what's going on in their life, when it's like, if this is my soccer friend and we have super fun, we play soccer, we play this video game together, or we're, whatever activity it is, it doesn't matter if you're a mess in 99% of your life. When we get together and do this, I wouldn't choose anybody but you.
Right.
But at the same time, when there's steps, it's like, okay, so what if it's something more serious? So like if, oh yeah, you're the best friend, I love playing basketball with you, but you murder people, or like you do something crazy.
Yeah.
It's like at that point, it's like, is it like, hey, well, he's not killing anybody when we play basketball, or is it like, no, this person is actually like just the energies around us.
But I think there's certain things that you should not accept. It's just like there's a lot of different ways. There's verbal, you know, physical, mental, you know, like there's certain things that once that line is crossed, there's no coming back from that.
Mm-hmm.
You've just allowed somebody to disrespect you in such a way, and not only you, like it's your family, it's a lot, you know, that you can't like I completely, there's something that me and Steven established, is like you don't curse, you don't devalue who I am when you're mad. You know?
That might slip once in a while. There's never physical. But even calling each other out of our name, we don't do that. We may swear when we're arguing, but we don't call each other a name.
Like,
you know,
like, oh, you're a fucking whore or whatever. And it's so easy to say these
unless
things.
that's when you want to.
You don't say these things that devalue your partner, you know, and you're allowing this disrespect, you know. You're allowing this to happen, and then it's like, oh, it was just a smack. No. Like, once you cross that line, there's no coming back from that. And I know that sometimes you lose your shit, because I've lost my shit before, you know?
But never did you ever put your hands on me. It's like, doesn't matter how mad you are. That's just not. There's not a reason for that.
And then you see these things, and they get, and it escalates, and it's escalating from, and it ties all back to the initial conversation of like not communicating. How did I deal with that jealousy from the beginning? How did I step back and evaluate myself? What is truly causing this? And then you find yourself in this snowball of a mess, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then there is no coming back. It's just like, what is there to do here?
Right. Back to the topic of how jealousy can really ruin friendships. We're experiencing it right here, right now, in our lives, and a lot of people are doing that as well. Like these ropes that we put on people put a strain on our friends, and when they go through a breakup, these people that are in these jealous and controlling and possessive relationships, when they're set free, they've been put in this box for so long, so tight, that when they break free, what are they going to run to?
To all they know.
To what they know, and that's us. But they've been sheltered from it for so long that it's a brand new experience. Although you're the same person and your circumstances may have changed, they come back to a new scenario that they're unfamiliar with, and it is our job to weather that storm a little bit and set the boundaries. Like, okay, well, I have this person that I'm with that doesn't really, want us sleeping in the same bed together or like under the same roof, or there's, I have to explain this before I go ahead and have lunch with you. Like there's these boundaries that need to be placed in. That's easily maintainable, but
it's hard to build those boundaries after years of not having them.
I actually completely.
And we're back.
And we are. So we kind of let that go for a little bit. We wanted to cover jealousy based on the commenter who left that comment, which was fantastic, by the way. I mean, outside of just what we talked about today, I mean, we were even talking prior to this podcast all about it, but we wanted to cover jealousy. We even got into the specifics on how it can affect friendships, which was our last rant, which we just went on for the better part of like 20 minutes. It was a specific relationship that we have with an individual.
Multiple, but yeah.
Multiple. And we did get a little off topic, but I hope what you guys took from some of the snippets you see, you guys can take some value from it. We are going to shift, though. We're going to shift gears to another commenter who started posting questions about family, about what you guys think about what having children would be in this relationship is.
They want to see some buns in the oven.
Yeah. But I think that's an interesting subject because, one, it's when I think poly, I don't think of a family, right? I think of a relationship, right? I think this label, it's just a relationship with multiple people, but I never really thought of, can this be a successful family in today's world? And like, will people look at you with like two heads? You know what I mean? So have you guys thought about it? Are kids in the equation? How does that work? Is there a surrogate mother? Are they both pregnant at the same time? I mean, there's just so much.
That's actually exactly right. I mean, we've definitely thought about it a lot. We still have details and things that we need to figure out. And obviously, we refuse to have kids. They're not gonna be baby mamas. Like, if you have a kid out of wedlock, oops. We want to break that chain. But we thought about it a lot. I personally, and I think they might agree, that they want to be pregnant at the same time. Logically, it will probably make more sense to have one be pregnant at a time and rotate. But it's weird that people don't think about that aspect of poly because that's one of the reasons it's so powerful. It's like they say it takes a village to raise a child. It's like, how much more love is your child getting? Like look at all of us that are able to have a successful poly relationship because all of our parents are still together. We all came from very loving, supportive households. It's like, imagine a kid. Like, he's gonna be a supercharged.
Yeah, you get 6 grandparents. You get 2 moms. You get a dad. Like, you're just so
many
loved.
presents.
Yeah.
That's a dope life.
You can't get any more. It's like, oh, maybe this grandma doesn't like me, but I got 2 others. It's fine.
That brings an interesting concept of what a family reunion would look like.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't know if all your family agrees with the relationship going on here. I could even see the older generation saying, like, what is...
Mine and Steven's family is very open to it. Pre's, we haven't really explored yet just because they don't know. So, I mean, that's waters to be tested. We'll figure it out if we're invited to Christmas or not.
I personally, the idea of it is great, but I haven't lived it yet. Like, This is it's going to be another, like, phase of, like, what is going to be okay and what's not going to be okay. Like, people say, like, oh, yeah, I want to have 5 kids, and then they have 1 kid, and they're like, that's it, I'm done, or they have 2, Steven says he wants to have a village, but it's like, me and Danny always say, once you have 1 or 2, that's it, you're gonna be done.
I mean, that's one reason, that's not what got us into poly, but, like, one huge benefit of poly is I want a lot of kids. Like, I need at least a full soccer team worth of kids. And one of the main reasons is because I have a lot of great baby names and they have to go to use. If we have a bunch of girls, I'm fucked. And they're just have to have the weird names. But for poly, it just makes so much more sense. And I think that's another thing, too. Not to go off on topic, but I think that's another reason why you typically see poly with 1 man and multiple females because of the children aspect. Once you get past the, threesomes and sex, and think about real life and planning a family and building a kingdom, it's like, it does make more sense for 1 man and multiple women. Because if you have 1 woman, multiple men, not only, like, how many kids could she pump out? It's like, neither man can really have as many kids as he probably wants.
I also think that this isn't, like, if we're just in our relationship, yeah, we want kids and stuff like that. I don't know how it would actually be, you know?
Like, do they call both of you mom? Is there
honestly, actually, Priya always says that, and that's the one thing I actually don't agree, and like I get nervous about when she says, and I kind of talk to both of them, is I do know, like, I don't know how I feel in this relationship, because you never know if you're going to be jealous, but with my poly is I wouldn't want to be with someone, and I told other people, if we didn't know how we felt about it. And like Priya always says, she's kind of nervous about it, but for me, I've always wanted to adopt kids. So if it wasn't my biological kid, I know I would love it as much. And I know that it'd have the dynamic. And if I have my kids, I want them to call pre-mom too. I don't want it this awkward stepmom thing, or where is it going to be? I want it to be like, no, your kids are going to feel as much love for me as my kids are you. They're going to basically not know the difference. You know, they'll know, yes, I birthed you, but I don't want there to be a difference. I want it to be where you're equal moms. And to me, it's like, I know I'll feel that love. And I actually, even if I wasn't with them, I think poly's a great relationship. I think I might do it again for the kid aspect. It's like, I worked at a daycare, I did this, and it's like, you can never have too many moms. Like, we were joking with the podcaster, and she's like, wow, I need another mother. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you could never. So that's the one thing I do love about this. It's like, fuck yes, I want another mom around, but I wouldn't be able to do it unless I don't want that separate household feel ever. So it's like, some people literally have separate household in poly. Even if we already know we're all going to be in the same house, I don't want there to be a distinction between, like, my kids and your kids. I want there to be our kids, you know, and I want to know.
You guys are just brothers, sisters.
Yeah, and I want there to know that they're not going to feel awkward, like, oh, well, Priya's not really my mom, because no, you know, Priya's as much your mom as I am yours, and I don't want there to ever be awkwardness. And if that was the case, I think that would be the one thing that would, like, end this for me, is like, we would have to agree that our kids are our kids. There's not, oh, don't discipline my kid because it's not. No, it's, you know, the same way this is our relationship, it's our children, and I'm firm on that. Like, if we couldn't come to agree with that, that would be, like, iffy, you know?
I mean, there's more than one thing that can end our relationship for sure. If they both turn around and said, neither of us want kids.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I can't stay here then. I want tons of kids. But I think what she's just saying is, like, I don't think Priest's nervous, like, I want my kid to call her mommy. But it is something that is, like, there's not an answer for that. Because,
There's no comparison.
Wait, hold on, let me finish my point. It's not about not knowing until you feel. That's not what I was saying at all. I'm just saying is there's literally no answer by that. At least from monogamy, there's some type of, you know, rule book that, like, goes unspoken, I guess. But with polygamy or polyamory, what do you call them? But I see it being a beautiful thing, because even like my brother and my sister, they both have daughters, and they're both 3 weeks apart. They're cousins, but they're essentially raised as sisters. And then it's like, they don't call my other sister Rose anything. They call her Ducky. So it's like, there could just be a name, you know? It's like, for whatever. It doesn't need to be like mama, stepmommy. They could just, whatever the name they come up with, you know? Yeah. Especially Spanish people, they make up weird names for your aunt and uncle all the time, you know?
Yeah, I agree. It's just going, for me, even like exploring poly, like, it takes a lot of like exploring my emotions and stuff like that. Yeah. Do I agree with everything they said? Absolutely. But it's just unknown. It's unknown territory for me.
Yeah.
I'm open to it. I'm open to everything now. It's just making sure that we're all going to be happy, you know, with it.
I think what you guys do for your children is naturally putting them in a place to be open in their lives, because they're going to be exposed to the systematic display of how relationships really are, right? And then they're going to come home every day to what you guys have. And, like, obviously there's the, you know, you have the years 1 through like 8 or so when they're just growing and they just kind of accept what is, and then you're going to have the challenging years where they're going to have more questions about, like, okay, wait, so there's 2 moms, like, which one did I come from? And, like, you know, there's going to be questions like that that are going to lead to these conversations about how your relationship really is. And I feel just having that is going to make them question what society naturally brings to them. The challenges.
They're going to have their norm, and then they're going to see what the rest of the world thinks.
Right.
You know, they're going to grow the same way that we mentioned in other conversations, that you didn't know there was, like, religion, and you found out when you were older, you know, like, so it's just, like, they're not going to notice probably until they're, like, making friends outside, you know, like, school and stuff.
I mean, a key thing with that is, it's like, I think it's not that it's so weird or it's going to be like, oh, so hard, like, oh, which one am I going to call mom? It's like, think about it. Like, obviously, a kid coming up in an unbroken home, whatever you call that, a happy, healthy relationship, a man and a woman, ideal compared to a single mother by far, or a single father by far. But then it's like, I'm sure the kid would definitely have a better shot at life with a set of gay parents over a single mother. So it's like, I only see like a kid in a poly relationship being like supercharged. Like they're gonna have even more advantages. And I don't think it's any more weird than, or any bit harder to explain than a kid having 2 dads or 2 moms, or 1 mom and no dad. It's like, it's not a weird thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's more love. Like, it is harder for me. I think it would be a little weirder if it's like, oh, why don't I have a mom, or why don't I have a dad? Because they're not feeling this lack of absence. Like, they're feeling like, oh, I have 2 moms, you know? Like, I have more in my life.
Right.
So I think, if anything, like, it's not as hard because it's not, like, this sad thing that they're coming to realize where, you know, if maybe your other isn't in the picture, it's like, oh, they're coming to realize this happy thing. It's just a little weird for them, you know?
Yeah. Or birthdays to celebrate, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the logistics of it all are obviously all gonna, you know, we haven't had kids yet. That's like us trying to give you children raising advice. Although, I mean, there's some things that it's like, I don't need to have, like, people say like, oh, you'll understand when you have a kid, da-da-da, it's supposed to be this way. It's like, no, I don't have a kid, but I would bet 10 to 1 you're absolutely wrong in X, Y, or Z, you know? So I think there's things that we can, you know, think about and probably get right, but there's going to be tons of unknowns. Like Danny always says, oh, you want 8 kids. As soon as you have 1, you might think that's enough. You know, like, who knows? Possibly, but I don't think so. But one thing I know for sure is that there's no way at all that a kid is lacking from being in a poly relationship. They're only getting more of everything. Love, resources,
it's
ideas.
in general. It's like, oh, you're not lacking from being in a bad relationship. Like, poly relationship, if it's a good one, if it's a healthy one, then, you know, it's just like any normal relationship. If you're in a bad relationship, like Pri was saying, like, no, leave if it's toxic, if it's a toxic poly relationship. But if it's a healthy poly relationship, it's just as much as a normal monogamous relationship, not more.
Yeah. That's a good point, though, because if we did have kids and they turned out terrible, I mean, they might with the names I'm going to give them, but...
Is it going to be Wolfgang?
Wolf. Just Wolf, not Wolfgang. Dude, was that a random guess, or did you know?
That was a random
My
guess.
first boy is Wolf. My first boy from Pri is... No. My first boy from Pri is Wolf, and my first boy from Danny is Kingsley, though.
It's Stevie B. We already talked about this.
No.
Actually,
It's a sick joke.
Stevie, and then B in the middle name. He thinks I'm kidding, but that's what it's going to be.
If we name him that, it's going to be Bumblebee. But anyways,
we have to
it's Kingsley. No, we don't. That's another deal breaker. The same way if Danny says that we can't all be mommy, the relationship's over. If I can't name all the kids, we're over, and I'm not.
He already knows this.
I'm not playing. But not even lose my train of thought. What was I saying?
I have no idea.
Wow, thanks. You weren't really listening then.
I was listening. There was just a lot of information. I got stuck on Stevie B and Wolf.
Those are badass, right?
Those are bad.
And then I'm gonna have one girl. I'm gonna have one girl, and her name is gonna be Liz.
You are.
Wait, sorry. What's it short for, though?
Lizbeth.
Lizard.
Badass, right? Badass.
She's
gonna have a tattoo at like 8 years old, being a biker gang. Definitely lesbian.
That's because you haven't heard of Rebel, Riot, and
Twins.
Ransom, maybe? I don't know.
No, there was never Ransom. That's kind of cool, though. I find
No, there's a
Now
person
you gave out all your names.
whose name is
Please don't steal these names. Please don't.
You know
And if
someone
you
named
do, you're
Ransom?
copying me.
Yeah, Ransom was a real name.
That's badass, dude. I'm happy you said that. But imagine having twins, Rebel and Riot. Fucking badass. You gotta name your kid for what you want them to be. Like,
What if they were Rebel and Riot and they came out like me?
That would be like the joke.
And I don't have kids.
That would be irony. My name is Rebel.
There's certain kids that, like, and I hope Danny knows I'm not kidding. Like, and it's no malice or whatever, but there's, like...
Your name's Steven.
Yeah, that sucks. I'm an anomaly. That's why I'm badass, but I'm quirky. But Steven actually means king in some language or whatever. But anyway...
His mom told him that.
No, my principal told me it at school, and she hated me, so she wouldn't have lied about that. But, no, I'm not, okay, I won't even say the kid thing. But we still lost our first topic that we were on. Whatever, the kids are going to have a great life. What I was going to say is, like, so people, one bad thing about poly is if we have kids and they come out terrible, or if we get in a horrible, we end terribly and we break up, people are going to be like, that's what you get, it's because you're a poly. No, we just fucking broke the fuck up like you would in a regular relationship. Yeah. Like, anybody, because it's because you're poly now. It's like, it's because of the black guys, because of this. Yeah. It's like, no, like, we're going to have the same problems, probably less of them, though, because the prerequisite to be in a poly relationship is being a little bit more
self-aware.
advanced in certain areas. Maybe advanced is like a patronizing word, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like you have to have your bases covered a little bit better.
There's a level of
to
openness that needs to be.
Yeah. So, but we're still gonna have the same. We can still break up. We can still get in the same type of situations, whatever.
You guys are just normal people dealing with
Truly
normal emotions.
That's especially what I wanted to say. We had like an interview question today, and they were like, "Oh, can you explain your sex life and stuff?" And me and Pri get so mad because it's like,
I don't
if
think
you
I've
were
ever asked
talking-
that question.
yeah, if you were talking to like a regular celebrity couple and there's just two people, you're like, "Oh, talk about your sex life right now." So it's like because there's three of us, you think it's just okay to ask about like our sex, like it's personal and that's rude of you. Like we don't know you, you know. So me and Pri are like, "No, we don't want
My
to discuss
answer
that."
to the
Like,
question was literally, do you ask regular couples what their sex life
yeah,
is like? Like it's like, do you really question something? Like, I get it. People talk about sex and fantasies and stuff like that, but it's like you don't like when they think poly and it's like threesomes and that's all they can envision, and that is frustrating.
I almost don't blame the interviewer though, because if you Google polyamory, you get a lot of weird stuff. Like not like almost everybody that's poly. I feel like this could just be my cynicism that I think it's a hoax, but I feel like the majority of people that are self-claiming poly online are not. They're not couples at all, or they're not really poly. They're all either super sexual, and if they have a YouTube channel, it's all about sex. And it's like I feel like either they believe they're poly, but they're not. They're just a hot mess, and it's just a dude with two girls, and
It's
there's
a lot about the
some type of
sexual
weird
part.
dynamic there that keeps them there, but it's not love or anything that we would define as polyamory, or it's straight up like, hey, girls, you're my friend, this is my girlfriend. Hey, we're gonna do this and get YouTube famous, and it's literally a hoax. That's how I feel. Like, you get that vibe?
I get the sex vibe. I
Yeah.
get it. It's all like, even I've explored some pages and it's just like the girls are just half naked
Naked
all
all
the
the
time.
Yeah, like you're making
and
them
the
terrible.
girls are kissing and the girls are this, you know.
They just
and
do
it's
what sells.
You don't think
Exactly.
people are
Like,
hopping on it as a
It's-
trend though, to literally fake
yeah.
it to be?
But it's kind of like what Russ said earlier. He's like, "Oh, I never really think of the family aspect in it," and it's true. It's because like some people do it like, "Oh, this is a cool phase," and we can tell our kids like, "Oh, we had a poly, we had a girlfriend at one point," but they never see it being long term. It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let's
I'm
add
crazy
to our
to do
sexual life really quick, that's cool. Let's add a throuple." But it's like, no, it's not like Pri and Steven are just throwing some threesomes with me, like this is a regular relationship. So a lot of people don't go into it like to have family, so that's why you don't really think of it. It's like, oh, let's just have sex really quick.
Yeah, even talking about family, it's just so unknown, like you go through all the sex shit because that's just the first thing that comes to people's mind. And it's like, we don't have all the answers of what even the family would be like. We have an idea of what we want.
Yeah.
But that's again just like any relationship. You don't marry to divorce. You don't plan your divorce. You don't plan to break up. You do everything you can for things to work out as long as you're happy with that person.
If you break it down, you boil it into just like problems that you're being dealt by the universe. Like it's all of it is the same as monogamy.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have a child. How are you gonna raise the child? What are your roles in the situation? You know what I mean? And all of that, you can just compare the two. Polygamy and monogamy, it's all the same. Like from what I'm getting from you guys look at it as a way of, okay, well, how can we make this work? I feel if I was going to have a child with someone, I would be freaking out and like, how are we gonna make this work? Like, what am I gonna do? Are you gonna work? Are we both gonna work? Are we gonna get a nanny? Like, what? Okay, so like, what if we do? Like, I'm just thinking of these ways to solve these issues in the same way that you guys are dealt this hand together and working through these issues. It all just makes sense. Like, it's not this grand thing that people make it out to be. Like, it's just sex or it's just this. But the problems that you're dealt seem to be.
It's almost that straightforward. Like, you almost have it exactly right. There's two differences with that you have to take into consideration. One for all poly, and then one specifically for our situation. The one for our situation is we're already abnormal people. I mean, if I'm only speaking for myself, obviously you've known me longer than them put together. Definitely, I don't have a traditional or any semblance of normal life path, in my fucking star sign. Two, so like even having kids and everything, that's just going to be different. But for poly in general, it's not just like, okay, it's it's a normal situations, but just double. It's like, no, it is a little bit different because it's not just a third person. It's like in a normal relationship, there's one connection. In a poly relationship, there's my connection with Pri, my connection with Danny, Danny's connection with Pri, and then our connection all together. So it's like not just plus one. It's like it's like fucking 3 squared. So there some problems do get created in that mix that you would never find in monogamy. But also, no matter what, if there's new problems, we have 3 minds, 3 perspectives, 3 solutions. So
right, and you just find a way to solve the problems or the challenges or obstacles being thrown your way, like any relationship. Yes, they're slightly different, but you're still going to work through them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're all putting on our pants one leg at a time. We just have more pants to put on. So you're essentially right. It's not so crazy.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to what you guys were saying before. Is like, when you raise your child, it gives them this. I think it's going to give them a head start
For sure.
because they're going to have like this level of openness that they're just exposed to, and they're going to start questioning why things are different from their friends and from what you guys have, and like, I think it's just gonna be a great experience for them overall. But I think that brings into the question, like, if people view you guys in such a one-sided way, what does that say for people who are in a gay relationship or marriage, whether it's 2 men, 2 women, or a trans with another trans or a trans with a person? How does that work? Like, how do you feel people see these relationships, and why do they put this, I want to say, like, blemish over their label?
I think there's always going to be ignorance. Always.
Yeah.
In everything, there's going to be that ignorant person. I think certain people will never open their minds. They're never going to try to understand what you're living. They think that there's only one way that it's done, and that's that.
Yeah.
Right? So, which is why there's hate, which is why there's racism, which is why, that I think also those things are taught, So I think I'm hoping that by the time, or even, when my kids are growing up, the world has been more accepting of gay marriage and LGBTs and trans and everything. You have to allow yourself to explore that,
What Pri said is right. There's always going to be ignorance no matter what, because everybody can't know everything. But there's also always going to be people that have all the facts, know exactly what's up, and still going to be like, fuck that guy, and just hate on it anyway. Like, somebody's always going to hate you, fact or fiction.
Someone's never going to accept it. There's people that, I have someone in my family, and they're very young, and they're curious. They're going through that phase of curiosity, and they think that they are gay. And then I have, an older person in my family that's like, yeah, I would never accept my kids if they're gay.
Little do they know.
Little do they know their kid is totally gay.
And that's a horrible way for a kid to grow up now.
Like, terrible. Your kid won't ever feel comfortable coming out to you. They're gonna want to live. And that's something that is very close to me, because it's like, I take forever to introduce people to my family because they're so judgmental. You know? I need to make sure 110% that you are the person I want to be with, so I can go defend why I want to be with you.
Yeah.
So that there's not so much lash, thrown my way, and it's like, we're just gonna disregard this is a phase, this is whatever, and it's like, no, you need to prove to me 110% that you're the person that I'm gonna fight for, to show that to my family.
That's the worst thing, when you fight for someone you're wrong.
I think it's also a little wrong, though, because it's like, I need to prove to you I'm worth meeting your family. It's like, no, maybe you should just show your family they're wrong. Like, whether I'm a good person, whether I last in your life or not.
I don't think it's like prove to their standards. I think it's like more like, okay, now I'm fully confident in us, so now I'll fight for you.
Yeah, like, I dated, not even when it was just me and Steven. I was with Steven for a whole year before introducing him to my parents.
Right. And then she slowly, it was probably longer than that, and then we knew each other longer than that, because we were dating for a whole year before you introduced us.
Yeah.
And we were together for like probably 6 or 8 months longer than that.
Yeah,
And then
so
she slowly trickled it
I
in, and
feel
then finally,
like it's like
and
that,
hyped me up good first.
you know, especially knowing he's not like your little saint boy, not what my parents were expecting at all.
Saint Stephen.
So it's not, it's just like I think the more people do stuff like this, and you the more you open your mind, the more you learn. Like knowledge is power. The more you accept. I have friends that grew up with me in the same church that we are, and it took them forever to even accept that they were gay. It took them forever, and they disconnected from everything, and now I'm so happy. Like one of them are like married now, and it's like I love seeing it, that they're finally free to say and do and be who they truly are. But I'm hoping that by the time that our kids are growing up, it's even more accepting. And that my kids are close to friendships that matter. Because you're not gonna see eye to eye with everyone. You never will. Like, look at fucking politics. Everyone has a different fucking view about everything, and they want to blame all, different people. But you're never going to see eye to eye, with everyone.
Right.
You have to choose who you want in your life,
I wanted to take it back also to, like, why they see it differently. And, like, I think it actually all comes back to sex. Like, even with two gay guys, two lesbian couples, it's like, if you think about Disney and they have, like, a gay thing on Disney, they're like, oh, they kissed. Why are they sexualizing this? That's terrible. It's propaganda. But if it's, like, a guy and a girl and they kiss, they're like, oh, that's cute. Introducing love. Yeah, so it's like, even with poly, like, if me and Pre kiss one time, people are like, oh, it's sexual, it's this. But if it was like a guy and a girl kissing, no one's, and it's like that with gay people, like, not even poly. It's like, oh, if two guys are kissing, they're trying to show it out in the world. They're trying to be so sexual. So it's like, because people have this stigma on it, and I don't know if it's because it's like wrong, and so people want to do it, and they'll search it in their porn search, but because they can't actually be accepting and open of it, they're so like judgmental, and they put this, like, oh, it's so sexual. Our relationship's not sexual. You just think it is because you don't live that way, because you're so like hidden about it, and you'll search it in porn, and this is your fantasy. But because you won't live that way, you see everything we do as sexual. Where it's like that with porn, like you're not open to being gay, but you'll search it, you'll watch it, you'll see it only in porn. So then when you see it out there, you put this huge sexual energy on it, and that's not the way it actually is.
When you repress things, that's how it comes out. It has to get expressed one way or another. I think we talked about in the last podcast, just like with emotions, everything inside you has a right to exist because it does. It has to breathe. But you must have repressed some shit because your porn searches are disgusting.
I think I think it's also like you need to see people for people. Like at the end of like inside we are a skull, like we are all the same inside, See people for who they are. Are they gay? You can even take this into the racism thing. You're not any different than the person right next to you.
Yeah.
It's just like you're human. Stop looking at people as, oh, they're gay, they're this, they do that. Who the fuck cares? You're straight and you do all this stuff. So it's just like stop. Like even for me, like there's this bar that I love to go to. And then we sing karaoke, and it's just like, Trevi? I love it, yes.
I want to go there.
I love Trevi because it was a huge growing thing for me of accepting, me for who I was, and taking that judgment that I was taught that, and I needed to take that away. So the first time that I saw they have, like, drag shows and stuff, I'm just there, like, and I feel like I try not to stare because I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, but it was such a learning curve for me. It was so opening, and to see how most of them, they're so nice, and it's like, you could sing terribly, and they're so accepting of just how you are as a human.
Yeah.
Even one of our shirts, Steven wore one of these, like, ho. And other places, there's like, someone might say, like, oh, why is he wearing a hoe? Or why would a girl wear a hoe? And we went there, and they're so like, oh, that's so dope. Like, what does it mean? And, like, they're so open-minded already. Or that's just a place that, like, it's safe. It's like a safe zone because it is, like, a gay bar or something. But it helped me, like, wow, these are just like normal people. I was able to like take that notion that was taught to me, like, oh, gay and this and that, and it's a sin and this and that, and to actually see people for people.
For who they are.
And God, you know, I feel like I have a friend now, and he is super gay. I have a few of them now, and I love them. Like, they're so honest, and I was able to, like, God blessed me with people in my life that they're so amazing that I was able to, like, detach this, like, bad notion that I have
Because before all this, you were the same. You were as judgmental as your family and your friends were, right?
I was just as judgmental. I was like, oh my God, that trans person. It's like, oh my God, they're going to hell. Like, what's going on with it?
Even back then, you were vicarious too, and you think that's why you were so judgmental, or how did that fit in?
I mean, I was always curious to what, like, I would be, even with my girlfriends, I'd be like, what would it be like if, like, we started kissing now, you know, like, but that's obviously something that only happened in my mind, like, I could never verbalize that, you know, I would lose my friendships completely, you know, but then it's like, I remember, like, the first time I watched porn, I was babysitting for someone.
Nasty. While you're babysitting?
That's fucked up. Report her.
She's looking at this kid like, oh, go to bed so I can masturbate.
Let me talk. I was babysitting this kid, and the father, before he left, he forgot to close his thing.
Browser history?
His browser history.
So when on purpose.
Probably. But when I opened it, that was my first thing. That was the first time I ever saw porn.
How old are you?
13, 14.
Disgusting.
That was the first time?
That was the first time I saw porn.
When was the first time for you?
You just told me earlier today you were 7.
That was the first time I jerked off. That's completely different.
Stop.
She got a secret.
So that was the first time I saw porn. So obviously you see all the categories, and I instantly would gravitated towards lesbian porn. You know, so it's just like, but even going through it, I was like, oh my God, this is so wrong. Oh my God, this is so wrong. You know, like, it was wrong in every aspect. Yeah. But I felt so guilty, like, this is such a sin to even be browsing through this stuff right now. Yeah. And then I caught myself doing it on my phone after, because I knew what the website was, you know? Yeah. And then it's like, it's this loophole. You start seeing all this shit. And that was like, what the fuck is out in this world?
And that's when your life went off the rails?
13. But then it's just like, that's when you get introduced to stuff. Like, you're not curious, and you don't feel like you're missing something unless you experience it, right? So I was judgmental. Like, I wanted to live this thing, but it was always such a huge sin. It was so wrong to have that feeling, to even want to do it. It's like there's like a demon inside of you that you need to let go, you know?
I think that's what people need to let go of.
Yes.
This negative view. It's just, what you said earlier is view people as people.
As people,
and that's it. Like, if you can just accept that, one, they make their own choices. Like, what you feel and how you feel about it doesn't really matter. But accepting the fact that this person lives this way and feels this way is valid.
It's valid, and it's okay. Like,
there should be no hate.
Exactly. Like, if this person, or if this woman is complete with this other woman, it's no different than you feeling complete in your relationship. Yeah. And I think what people ignore is that there's a lot of successful monogamy relationships, but there's a complete fail in most of them. You know, because it's like you're never able to be yourself, even not only in sexuality, but you have a hobby that you can't do. You want to explore something you can't explore. You want to, you know, like stuff like that.
In defense of monogamy, though, because it's not like we're saying, oh, fuck monogamy, level up and do polyamory. It's like, no, everybody's built for different things. But in defense of monogamy, it's like, okay, half of marriages fail. That doesn't really mean too much to me. I don't think that is a testament to say that marriage is bad, because, okay, half don't fail. It's like, you be careful, I'm not wearing boxers. Okay, and it's like, obviously, media and society focuses on the negative, always, because that's just what we do with everything. Oh, plane crashes. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, 10 million other planes landed just fine today. We're only focusing on the bad things. So there's plenty of successful marriages. There's plenty of successful relationships. There's just no juice in hearing about those, so they focus on the bad ones. You know?
Yeah.
the controversy,
and that's what gets
I do.
published to
What
us.
Pri says though, like about poly, is true because the people that seek out poly are normally, obviously, more open, or when you're in them, you become more open. So it is easier for us to explore more sexualities because we already had this open mindedness to talk about, you know, like with Pri and Steven. Steven feels comfortable and Pri feels comfortable talking about sexuality because they're like, oh, let's bring another girlfriend. So obviously, if they were open enough to have that conversation, they can explore other options when they come up. Where if you never talk to your partner and you never talk about this sexuality, you may be more closed-minded, and it doesn't have to be bringing another girlfriend in, but there could be something you really wanted to do that then makes you cheat because you never have that openness with your relationship.
A huge thing I want to say too is poly isn't going to fix your monogamous relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like you having a threesome isn't going to fix your problem. You know, you have to have a communication really well because it's like you can go and start exploring your sexuality and then boom, all this jealousy and insecurity and all this stuff can happen, and then not only did you not even explore what you wanted, you just destroyed what you had.
Well, that's obvious, but to what Danny was saying, like that's like a key point because if you don't have that openness and whatnot, that's like we were saying prior, is like that's all stuff that should be a prerequisite. But the same way, it's like there's no marriages fail, but it's like who's letting these people get married? It's like these people shouldn't have been dating in the first place. People are having kids. You don't have to take any tests to have a kid. Like you don't need any certification. You need to get a license to drive a car. You need to get a permit. You need to get training to do anything. To make a burrito at Chipotle, you need to go through training. But they just let any two fucks have a kid. It's like obviously, like there should be some type of requirement. Obviously, not literally because whatever. It's a free country, blah blah. But it's like there needs to be either some it's not like you get educated about your feelings and jealous. You don't have these conversations at school. Right. There's a lot of things that are left out. So where do people get this education? And then is there a right way to move forward through this stuff?
That's why I want there to be more openness, because if there's more movies with poly, if there's more movies with gay love, if there's more movies with LGBT, that's where people are learning this stuff. You grow up watching Disney movies, you grow up watching shows, you grow up, if now that we're more accepting of it and they start to put that into TV, I think it will become something more normal, because now till today, if you see, I'm happy that more shows are showing that, but it only shows more in adult shows. Mm-hmm. It's not introduced as the love thing as you see as a kid.
Yeah.
Or it's so sublime, what do you call it? The symbol is in there, but you only realize it when you're older,
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, that's a weird, I don't know what my stance is on that, if you should put more gay stuff in cartoons or not. Maybe just stop sexualizing things in general, maybe don't allow TV to program people that way, but also, again, free country, people are going to do whatever they want to do. Well, I don't, way hopping back to what you said before, is at the end of the day, I think the verdict on the marriage thing and the kid thing is, if done successfully, if there's a monogamous relationship and a polyamorous relationship that are of equal value, the polyamorous relationship is going to have far more. The kids are going to have a far better head start in life, and there's a huge disparity between kids' intelligence and how they carry themselves. I mean, we used to work in Greenwich. It's kids would come in with their parents there and they speak like adults. They're smart. I've just seen plenty of them. I was going to use examples, but it really doesn't matter. You get the point. But then the other thing too is I don't think that it's any more, not to point the finger, but it's gay relationships and lesbian relationships were obviously shut out for a while. Now it's fine. It's normal. They have all the rights and etc. Those are far more successful and normal than I think a single parent. That's obviously there's a detriment there. I think poly should easily fit right in with that. I mean, transgender is a harder thing to explain for sure, hands down to a kid than poly. Poly, you have two mommies, you have two daddies. Just you have two mommies instead of one daddy, two mommies, two daddies, two mommies. That's simple. I think explaining transgender, they should obviously have all the same rights and whatnot, but nobody should think that explaining poly to children is hard. People should be able to grasp that pretty easily. And I don't even know if you should explain transgender to kids and at what age necessarily, because I don't think you can program a kid to be gay. The kid has to have a propensity and that to grow in that direction himself or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know if the science is out on that. Like how much. I don't think programming can do it.
No, it's not programming it, but obviously if you're more aware to it, you think of it more. It's just like if
you can lean in that direction
yeah,
more
if you
easily.
were not lean in that direction, but it's like you said, if you can never become religious until you got exposed to it. Like
True.
he couldn't think about God until he heard about God.
So
if
you can't
keep
know
a
you're
kid in
gay.
a bubble.
He can
Yeah,
feel certain ways, but not understand.
Yeah, because he's not going to know what being gay is if he never shown. You know, he's just gonna be like, oh, I like boys. What is that? But never have the tools to know. So I think learning about like gay is just. It would just help. You're never gonna just be gay because you saw it, but you could now accept it and realize it faster. You know?
True. They say you're born like that, and I agree. I mean, I wasn't born straight. You know, it happened or whatever. That just is what it is. There is proof of people that get molested, you know, or whatever that end up gay, but then they are not gay later.
Yeah,
and it was a developmental thing, trauma. Yeah. But transgender, I don't know if that's healthy to. I mean, I know we're getting off topic, but I don't know if that's healthy to teach a kid about that because. When you're a kid, you're not a human being yet. Like, you're just a blob of, you know, you're just receiving information. You're a sponge. So it's like, if you tell a kid, hey, you don't know if you're a boy or a girl, we don't fucking know. You pick. And it's like, it seems like kind of weird, and the kid could definitely get fucked up that way. Like, if you're an adult, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, I have transgender friends. I have no problem with transgender people. I'm like, I don't have transgender friends, but it sounds like the right thing to say. Not because I don't want them.
You don't know anyone.
They're 1 in 100,000 or something like that. I don't know. Now I'm getting hot water, but like, no, I don't know if that's a great thing to push on kids because there's definitely some fucked up things happening in school now where they're like, oh, this is baby self. You can't say if the baby's a boy or a girl yet. Fuck out of here. Like, but that's also like, if we're gonna go on this topic. I don't think that there's a difference between gender and sex. Like, I just don't. So if I ask you how many genders are there, what is your answer?
There's 2 genders.
What is your answer?
There's 2.
There's 2. Okay, so there's no split decision here because some people are like, there's no number, or there's whatever 33. Do you is your premise for that there's only 2 genders because sex and gender are interchangeable for you? Or do you also recognize, as some people do, that there's a difference between gender and sex?
I mean, I'm not educated on the matter.
I was gonna say that.
I'm not educated enough. I just, because of the stuff that I went through with opening up and opening my mind, I try to be as open as possible to accepting, you know, other people for who they think they are. Like, I haven't had a personal even conversation with someone who's transgender to even try to grasp what they went through and what they're feeling and get to know them. You know, I would love to because I would want to understand them at that level. I have plenty of gay friends that, you know, we've shared what it was like, you know, how they felt, what they went through, how they, you know, were feeling at home and what they do. I don't know nothing about transgender, which is why I think it's such a touchy subject to even discuss when I want to know what it's like for that person. You know?
Yeah,
I would love to have one of them on the show.
I was going to say, Steven does want to talk about transgenders, but now that we're talking about it, I don't have, like, of course you know about it, and of course we're always accepting, because like we say, whether we believe in it or not, love is love, be who you are, I'm never going to speak hate. So, you know, if you're a transgender, do what you want. You know, you're not hurting me. But I don't know enough about it to know what makes you feel that way. Because to me, sometimes, like, I've heard, we were watching, like, a YouTube one time, and someone was like, yeah, like, I went towards the blue colors, and I went towards this. But then it's like, you say there's no gender roles. Like, blue doesn't mean boys. So if you liked, like, basketball, why does that mean you had to be transgender? Because you said, you know, there's no rules. Like, you could be a girl and like basketball. You know what? This make pink girly. So how are you going to say because you wanted to wear a dress, you're a girl? No, you just like to wear dresses as a boy. That's okay.
That's why I'm scared.
So it's confusing to me because a lot of transgenders say, like, you know, there's no gender things. Like, pink doesn't mean girl. Pink. So then why do you think you're a boy or girl, you know? Is it you think you just have the wrong body part, or because you liked girl things? Because then there's no real girl thing. Like, if my boy wants to wear dresses, go ahead. That's not a girl's clothing to me. But it makes me wonder, like, what's your first sign that you're transgender? Is it that you like girls? Because then obviously maybe you're just gay. You know, like, what actually makes you think?
And that's why I think it's sketchy waters if you're teaching kids like things like that may mean that they're transgender, because I remember when I was a kid, like, I just loved colorful shit. Like, my favorite colors were fucking lime green and pink, and well, it was mostly because Power Rangers, but, like, I just like colorful shit. Like, if I'll paint all my nails different colors with marker, like, that was just, I don't know, I never thought I was gay, but if somebody were to tell me, and, like, if somebody were to train parents or in school to point out, like, oh, maybe your kid's transgender now, he might be confused, maybe I would have fucking got some fucked up, you know?
Yeah.
But, one of my little cousins used to love my aunt's purse, and it used to make my uncle so mad. Like, oh, he's gonna be gay. No, he's just a kid that likes a purse.
Yeah,
so that doesn't mean you're trans. You know, so it's like, what to me, I would love to actually talk to more transgenders. And before we have this conversation, I'd like to do a little more research.
Well, Danny would play me before because, like, I got really interested. I forgot what triggered me to be interested in it.
He started finding Blaire White videos and watching them, and then recently he's watching.
Hey, Blaire White, I hope you're watching.
He loves her.
You never heard of Blaire White?
Okay, Steven watches her all right, bro.
All right, bro. So, all right, Blaire White, I'm definitely subscribed to her YouTube. I love her because I wanted to learn about transgender. I forgot I think I just realized, like they're saying, I don't know about it. They don't know about it, so they don't want to talk about it. I wanted to know about it because it just kept getting pushed or whatever. Or actually, I saw one of Steven Crowder's video. You know Steven Crowder, right? Louder Crowder. I agree with a lot of what he says, but he's also deliberately an asshole. But it's funny, so it's fine. But he was like, I didn't agree with him on everything, and I just wanted to understand. The girl that sat there, he had a thing where it's like, I believe this, changed my mind. There's only two genders, changed my mind. A girl sat down and got obliterated. I think she believed she won. She was blown to smithereens. And everything he said was factual, but I really wanted to understand, like, okay, so what's up with this? Because clearly this is a big thing. Even though it's not media, it is, but it's not as serious as people think. Here we are talking about it fine. It's media wants to look at the horse.
Completely separate things, and we want people to listen to the beginning of that one.
Okay, so stop nasty. Touch my butt, dude. All right, so the battery died again, but whatever. I got interested in learning about transgender because I didn't know about it. So I stumbled across Blaire White. And that completely molded, like, I feel like I really do understand so much better now, too. And we could go into this topic another day. One of the reasons, too, that I brought up today is because me and Danny just took a call with somebody, and, we were just talking to some other transgender people and whatnot, so it's like, they're friends of ours. Like, it's not like we have a problem. I don't think any of us don't like or have a problem with anything. The children raising thing is one. But so with Blaire White, she really made me realize that it's like the media puts the things on, the GameStop person. It's like, it's ma'am, and it's like, I don't know about that. And it's like, they point out these outliers, but like many, many, many transgender people are normal fucking people. Like, if you watch Blaire White, definitely that's your homework assignment for us. Watch Blaire White. One, like, she's a bad bitch. Like, she's a bad bitch. Danny was really thinking I'm gay for a while. Or were you joking?
I wasn't thinking he was gay. I was just wondering. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's when you got, like, you wore my underwear for a little bit after that.
No, don't fucking lie.
I left a pair of my underwear, and, like, Steven sent me a picture of him in it, and then... And I'm a little paranoid, so I was going through search history, and it was a lot of transgender porn and stuff.
What?
And
no, stop.
I wasn't nervous he was gay, but I was just wondering if there was something he needed to tell me, which we're very open, so I was like, why wouldn't you just tell me if you had this thing?
Why are you lying on my name?
You didn't get the green underwear picture when he was wearing the thong.
Oh, no, okay.
That was right after that.
Okay, slow down. I put on her underwear as a joke with my balls hanging out just to be stupid. Like, it had nothing to do... with any of that.
And then I'm really going to expose him, but he also sent us a text. And he's like, yeah, guys, I tried the butt plug today. So
oh
it was
my
just like
God.
a series,
I'm cutting all this out.
series of events, guys.
Oh my God.
Why
what are you
would you
doing?
even say that?
Do you want me to expose you? Because I can say the truth.
It was a series of events.
No. All right, let's bring it in. Underwear, no, listen. Underwear debunked. That was a joke. I put on her panties for some reason.
He looked good.
She always wear mine. It was just a thing that she always wears mine. 2, you've never looked in my porn history and saw transgender.
Yes, there
you
was.
see Latina anal gape. That's all it ever is. You've never seen transgender in there.
You're still on that phase, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it never gets old. It never gets old. And then as far as the butt plug, I'm not going to confirm or deny. we can go into that on another topic if the people want to know. But
subscribe to the OnlyFans.
Why would you say that?
I love
man?
you, baby.
You just gotta be okay with who you are.
The point
is, if you want to hear more.
Wait, no, wait. We're not ending off on this note. There's no way. The point is, look.
The point is if he started exposing the shit that she does, this wouldn't be on the video.
Okay. Okay, listen.
Oh, that's a great idea. If you guys want exposure content, please comment in the video, and we will expose all of them.
Stop. How about every podcast we all get together and like there's some person we're gonna get exposed. But listen. All right. Transgender is a hot topic, and I want to speak about it because I feel like I didn't understand them before, and because of weird things like the ma'am and GameStop and the other weird things, and I'm seeing the debates, I kind of had a negative I felt like society was pushing me towards a negative outlook at it. When I saw Blaire White, and she was a totally normal, technically she's a guy, biologically, but no, she's a girl, and not just because she passes as a girl. Like, I wouldn't call the GameStop one ma'am because it was a dude with long hair, and she was being a dick, or she was being a dick. I'll call her a she, but like, there's many transgender people that are normal fucking chill people. The same way that you say polyamory, like how we're normal, yeah, we are. There's plenty trannies. Do they think that's offensive?
That's an offensive term.
I don't.
It's
Blaire White doesn't. Blaire White doesn't. So I'm not saying it offensively. I'm 100% an ally. For sure. Like, I'll suck a tranny dick right now if that will, all right, not really.
What's wrong with you?
So many things.
No, I'm just saying I'll do it.
Why did you ever think that was a
He just exposed.
I'm saying I don't want to suck a dick, but I'm saying I'll do it if that proves I'm an ally.
Okay, so if you want to hear more about
no, this is going worse. I tried to fix it.
Okay, we're gonna end it after this. No. Goodbye, guys. We'll talk more about this subject next time.
Why?